I think all over Indonesia. And sorry, yesterday I have a problem with my computer, so I now want to greet you. And we have to appreciate the collaboration with the Duke University to give us insights about how to publish our manuscript. Because so far we have gone to many workshops for writing the manuscripts, but actually how to publish that, it's something new. So I'm really glad that the participants has gone up to 110. And on the other hand, also will not take you long with this journey. You can see the flags behind me. Today is the birthday of Universitas Indonesia, 2nd of February, and we come to the age of 71 years. So actually I have to wear my formal dress as a professor, but it's going to be late to join them. So congratulations, and put a lot of questions to Professor Kian and Miss Bexy, because they are the experts and they have a lot of experiences in publishing articles. Also yesterday from Professor Benjamin and also Professor Xianlen Tang. So thank you very much, Bexy. Thank you very much, Professor Kian Long. You can now continue. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Then happy birthday.
Thank you.
And hopefully you have a good day. I will use following 30 minutes to share some of my experience. Then my colleague, Dr. Wei Xijiang, will also contribute and share her experience for the paper publication. And so as said, there is plenty of journals, medical journal, public health journals, some clinical journals, or even some very multidisciplinary journals. So how can we choose the proper one for our study topic? So that's also it's quite important to make our work publishable and also target at the proper audience. So there is some factors you can consider. Then firstly, I would like to suggest that you can study the journal aims and scope. So that's also come to the target audience. So because different journal has their own aims and their own scope, so that also means they would like to attract different audience for the interests. Then there is some examples. Then the Lancet Public Health, I guess most of you probably heard about the Lancet. But actually under the Lancet theory, they have the different type of journals. So the Lancet Public Health is one of the Lancet family journal. Then in their description, the journal description says they would like to publish the high quality original research, comment, and correspondence that can advance public health policies and outcomes. So that also gives some indications, or like the first hints, what type of article they are interested. So firstly, they publish original research. Then they also publish comment, and they also publish correspondence. Then the purpose is to advance public health policies and outcomes. So come back to think about your own work. So your study is focused on the public health policy, or focus on the medical outcomes or health outcomes, or focus on some health system issues. Do you think Lancet Public Health would be the proper journal for your study? So that's also is for the first step for your own to assess significance and also valuable of your own work. Or maybe you come out, say, my topic is really focused on the bio-knowledge study. So then you maybe think about some basic like the journals, or maybe the journals interested about some specific topic, for example, non-communicability disease. So the second example is like the BMC pregnancy and childbirth. So this is type of the specific, they look at the specific topic. So here you can see this is a open access peer-reviewed journal, considers article on all aspects of pregnancy and childbirth. So this is very clear. Their interests is about pregnancy and childbirth. So then they also said the journal welcomes submissions on the biomedical aspects of pregnancy, breastfeeding, labor, maternal health, maternity care, trends and socio-knowledgeable aspects of pregnancy and childbirth. So this also is give you quite the wide topic, but they only focus on pregnancy and childbirth events. So if you have the study focus on maternity care, for example, we have the one study examined the change of seroinfection rate in Indonesia over the past 20 years. So this topic could be suitable for this journal. Then we also do some like the homework. We search what type of article published in the journal. So then also give you some like the indications or some hints. Then the editor of this journal may be interested or may not be interested about this topic. So that is like the two examples. What is like the more wider than talking about the advanced public health policies, or another one is some focus on some specific topics. So like I said, I would encourage you to, if you think your work, your study would be suitable for this journal, then also come visit the website of this journal, then see what already published in issues or what have been published over the past half year or even 1 year. So that also can give you some clue what the editor in this journal would be interested. So this also is just an example from the Lancet Public Health. Then you visit their web, then you can see, you go to the new articles. Then they also will show you the recent articles. And also they will give you some information, most cited articles. So all this just give you more rich information, what would be valuable or maybe say most interested to the editor. So like yesterday, Professor Pan and also Dr. Anderson also mentioned, the firstly, when you submit the paper, then you would like to survive within a house. So that means you need to pass the editor's assessment. They think your work is suitable for their journal. It's important, it's valuable, they like it. So then they will send for the peer review process. So that's why firstly, you really need to meet the flavor of the editor. So then you try to survive within the house, then get the chance sent out for the peer review. So for the journal search, then you also can get a lot of other information from their web. For example, their site score, their impact factor. So usually we will come back to see this factor to be considered when you choose a journal. That's a journal's reputation. So usually they see is a relatively high impact factor that may also indicate importance of this journal in this field, but not for all. I also would like to see, depending on the different disciplines or different research field, then they also have their own high-ranked journals, but maybe overall the impact factor is not so high. For example, social science and medicine. This journal also is quite very high, very good reputation in the field of social science study or research. So, but overall speaking, their impact factor may be around 3 or maybe around 3.2 or like that. So compared to the Lancet Public Health, the impact factor is relatively low. But in the field for the social science and medicine, this journal also have the very high reputation and publish the very high quality work. So that's why when you really think about the journal's reputation, you can consider about impact factor if that is really important for you. More important, I also would like to see, think about your research area. So then you can find the very good quality journal in your field. And also, that also means, like I said, they have the different target audience. So that's also maybe make your work more impact in your field. So that's also it's some factor you can consider about that. So as said, then now it's like some big journals, like the Lancet. Then this is like the family. They call it the Lancet family. Under that, they have the different journals. So the Lancet is like the flagship. That's also it's a major journal in this family. But also under this family, they have the different other journals. So that's also have the different target audience or different specific topic they are interested. For example, the Lancet Child and Adolescent Health, the Lancet Digital Health. So this is a relatively specific area. The Lancet Global Health, the Lancet Public Health. So again, think about your study topic. Which area is most suitable? Then because of this kind of the big family, if you submit to Lancet Global Health, then they say, well, they think this is valuable work, but it's not really suitable for the Lancet Global Health. So then they will recommend to transfer to other Lancet journals. They think, the editor think would be more suitable. So that's now also quite often happened, and also can save your time. And if you think this transfer journal is also valuable, it's suitable, then you can accept this kind of recommendation. So it's very simply, you don't need to go through the submission process again. Then you just click, I accept the transfer. So they will transfer within the house. Then move to another journal, then they will start to do the further assessment. So that's also is quite common nowadays. So not only the Lancet, they have this kind of family, like the BMJ, British Medical Journals, they also have the families. They have BMJ is a flagship under this family. They also have the BMJ Global Health, BMJ Open, and other BMJ journals. Cross medicine. So all this, when you search this kind of journal, so pay attention on this kind of the series. So then you can find this kind of information in the journal web. Then you can see, oh, there is more this type of journal. Some journal target at some specific topic. So that also will save you a lot of efforts. So the tip, then have a look at the article published by the journal already. So that is really important. You read the scope, you read their aim, then you think, okay, my work is really suitable for this journal. But again, that is your understanding. So get into the web, then try to see what the article have already been published in this journal. So that also can give you more sense or flavor, then would be understand what this scope or aim means. Then also you can see what's really the editor's interests in to publish the article in this journal. So this should give you an idea of which topic the editors are interested in. This is quite important. Of course, there are also some other factors to consider. Then, for example, the type of articles the journal publishes. Why we see that, then usually we think about, oh, okay, the original research, that is type of the article. But nowadays, the journals publish different type of articles, opinion, perspective, case study, short report. So all this, you also need to study the web of the journal. Then you can think how my work can be categorized into this different type of articles. It's original articles, or it's just opinion paper, or I would like to write some even a comments or correspondence. So like yesterday, I think we hear a question about some limitations of the methodology. Then, yeah, like Professor Tan gives some feedback, then see maybe you can consider different type of articles suitable for the journals. But of course, you acknowledge you have some methodology limitation, but even when you write the opinion paper, perspective paper, or other type of papers, you also need to do some homework, like comprehensive literature review, or maybe consult the experts in the field. So then you can really formulate your own opinion in this field. So that's also is a way how to attract the editor's interests. Then you also need to consider about the length restrictions. Then I think consider about like the 10 years ago or maybe 15 years ago, then most of this journal is not open access. So they have the very clear Word account. Then they would see for this paper shouldn't be longer than 3,000 words. That is like the accounting, the main body of the manuscript include the reference or tables, figures. So that's also you need to consider about that. Then nowadays, more journal become like the open access. So they do not have the strict word limitation, but still they have some suggestions. Then usually we would say you need to highlight your key themes and make your writing contents. That's also its way to attract the readers or audience interest. So that's why you really need to check all this kind of journals requirement very carefully. Then that's also is a way to prepare your manuscript then for the submission. So reputation, we just talked about that. Then where the journal is indexed complies with the founder mandates. So all this kind of factor you need to consider before you finalize your manuscript and prepare for the submission. Then one example, because some different research maybe is funded by the different sponsors, then they may have some like the policy or rules for your consideration when you say, I would like to publish my paper. So then you also need to think about that. Does that meet the journal's requirement? Can I compromise all these kind of rules or policies that make my work publishable? So you really need to think about that carefully. So here also is like the examples, health affairs. This also is like the high rank journal published some health policy papers. Then under this journal, they have the very clear instruction how to submit to the journal. So here then you can see they talking about different type of articles. Then firstly, they publish research article, they publish analysis, they publish review article, they also publish grant watch. So then for each type of article, you need to go through and see what does they mean about research article. What does they mean about what do they mean about analysis? So then you go to the details, then they see, okay, research article should be like the 2,000 to 5,000 words, then up to 4 tables and figures. So that is their like the restriction for this type of article. Then furthermore, they also give you more hints how to prepare research article or how to prepare the other type of articles. So here they say research articles can be based on original or primary research or secondary research. So this is how did they define this research article? They should go for this kind of category. Descriptive or analytical, quantitative, qualitative, or mixed methods. So this also tell you how would you like to present or prepare or draft your methodology, case studies. Then all this type of article can be research article, but like I said, they have the words limitation. They also give you the restriction about the tables and figures. So if you think this is, oh, my work is a kind of the research article, so you need to format your article according to the requirement for this time. So again, this is from another journal. They call it Infectious Disease of Poverty. They also have the different type of articles. They publish different type of articles. Review, research article, case report, case study. So the point is, when you draft your work, then firstly you think about journal, and also you think about what type of article published by this journal. And this is some examples. It's my published work. The first one actually is opinion paper. It sounds like the most neglected health challenge is non-communicable disease. But why infectious disease of poverty interested about that? So because at that time, this journal invited us to write about that. Even they interested, their target topic is about infectious disease of poverty. But they also think nowadays it's like the comorbidity between infectious disease and non-communicable diseases. So they are also interested about this kind of appealing, this neglected health challenge. So that's why we published in this journal. Then the second one, on-site midwife-led birth units for care around the time of childbirth. But actually, this is a systematic review. Then BMJ Global Health interested about that. Then firstly, systematic review, so that also means summarize, it synthesize the evidence. And secondly, they are interested about the childbirth care or quality of care. So that's why we think BMJ Global Health is our target journal, and also they accept. The third one is like the treatment of type 2 diabetes in China. Then we focus on affordable care for the poor. So in all this kind of journal for our paper title, then you can see we highlight what's the key message in this paper. So for this one, because we are studying diabetes, so diabetic medicine could be the suitable one. Then we're also talking about the affordability of care pool. So maybe a journal, maybe like say International Journal of Equity for Health, they also might be interested. So that also means you are best one to know what's your key message you would like to disseminate. Then you can choose different journals. Then you also get the rank. The first try, then second try, then third try. So like yesterday, they also mentioned, don't be frustrated if your paper was rejected by one journal, then keep trying. So then that also means when you prepare, you can think about the orders of the journal, some potential journals you would submit. So then which one could be the first try, which one could be the second try, which one could be the third try. So that's also is a tip for you to prepare. So again, like I said, what are the implications of my results? You are the best person to assess. So again, you also think about, are they limited to my field, or do they have applications to a broader area of the science? Are my results a major breakthrough or an incredible advancement to the field? Think about that. So then you also can look at the reference, because when you prepare your manuscript, definitely you will have the list of reference. Or then you can see, yeah, you cited others' work, then where did they publish? So then also you can think, oh, maybe this journal also suitable for my work too. So this also can save a lot of your time. There are still other factors to consider about, does the journal usually publish articles quickly? So you also can find this kind of information from their web. Usually they will have the instruction for the authors. Then you will tell you this is like the monthly journal, or it's like the bi-monthly journal. So somehow you can assess. Then they also will tell you very clearly about this peer review process. So then you also can roughly estimate the time frame. Then sometimes they will say it takes a half year, or takes 3 to 4 months for this peer review process. So then you can assess how quickly, if you get chance to publish in this journal, then your work will come out. Is the time to publication important for you? What kind of peer review does the journal offer? What financial costs are involved? So now we said nowadays it's the open access journals, many. So then they also charge this publication fee. So then you also can find this kind of information from their web. How much? Then different journal has a different publication charge. For example, the Lancet Public Health or other Lancet family journal, they charge 5,000 US dollar. That's quite a lot. But for the Lancet flagship, then that's for free. But if you have to make sure you can make your work published in the Lancet, then that's for free. But if publishing other Lancet family journals, then they charge quite a lot. But of course, that also is good journals. The last one I would like to mention here, so it's talking about visit and read the website for tax. That's also is quite important. Then usually when you visit this journal, then you can easily find instructions for authors. So then, like we show some examples before, you can find most of this kind of important information there. Type of journal, type of articles, the length restrictions or other type of information under different type of articles. So that's also you can find from the under the instruction for authors.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, Prof. We still listen.
Hello? Professor
Hello.
Kian Long?
We still listen you, Prof.
Okay, Professor Kian Long, you finished? Hello? Professor Long? Everybody can hear Professor Long?
No,
No,
Bu
Prof.
Adi.
No,
Yeah. Professor Long, are you there? Okay, are you finished with your presentation, Professor Long? Because we cannot hear you. Professor Long? Okay, you finished. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Long. I hope you are still with us. I would like to spend time for one or two questions. Who wants to ask to Professor Long? Please do and do it directly. Yes, who wants to ask to Professor Long, please? Welcome, Professor Ben Anderson. I still see you. Bye. Professor Long? Hello? Hello? Professor Long, you are there? Any question to Professor Long? Any question, please? Go direct, please. Please. Hello? Okay, if not, then I will go further to invite Dr. Bexy Jiang for her presentation. Please, Dr. Bexy Jiang, we are waiting for you. Dr. Bexy.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to share my experience.
Professor Kian Long, you are back. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you,
Okay.
Dr.
Okay.
Jiang.
Thank you. Because I'm using the same room as Professor Long, so
Okay.
so I try to adjust it to not to influence each other. So today it's my great pleasure to share my experience about developing and publishing a paper. So let me see. Yeah. So as professors have give great speeches on how to develop a paper and how to respond to reviewers and how to select journals for publishing. So I think basically they have covered everything. But so for me, I just share my experience of developing and publishing a peer-reviewed journal article from the perspective of a junior researcher and from my area. So first, let me give you a brief introduction of myself. I'm a PhD candidate, and it's my last year of PhD study, and I'm also doing research in the field of health policy and system. So I mostly give this presentation based on my experience in the health service and health system area. So I know many of you maybe come from like area of epidemiology and biostatics. Your experience of developing articles may be quite different from my field, but I still hope my experience could be helpful for you. So this is what I'm going to talk about today. This is basically what all professors have talked about, but mainly my experience. It's about developing a paper of publishable quality and searching for target journal and try to get into the peer review process and revising the paper again and again, and then you can get published. So first is about developing a paper of publishable quality. So I think that a good paper always tells a coherent and convincing story through sound evidence. As a junior researcher, you may get into research in different stages. But if you are lucky enough to participate in the research from the earliest stage, that is the design stage, so it is very important to find an interesting topic at the beginning. So you need to do lots of like literature review to find out what people in these areas are interested in. So important, significant, and also eye-catching research topic would help you get published in a high-impact journal. The second is try your best to ensure the data quality during the project implementation. So if you get into a research like during the implementation stage, like your supervisor asks you to participate in the research that already have proposals, have some designs, but you need to collect data. So try your best to ensure your data quality. If you got too many like missing data problem, like you have to use some difficult techniques to adjust for this kind of to correct this kind of problems and like all these kind of imputation methods. But even if you do all these kind of um, um, things to trying to improve your data quality, try to improve your analysis, you still have a high probability of getting rejected by good journals if your data quality is not good enough. The third thing is about during the analysis, you have to find out the most important primary results, the key results, and also the supporting evidence from your data. And organize your results to form a good story. That is when you are looking over your results, you have done lots of analysis and try to find your key message and try to think about how can you organize your results and present your results to form a good and coherent story that you want to tell your target audience. So I think this is the three basic things of like developing a paper, a good paper of publishable quality. So basically, this is my habit of how I develop a paper after obtaining the data. So I really do some extensive literature review and understand what has been done. So this is very important because you need to know the need. You need to know what hasn't been done and what has not been done and what's not known are of great interest to the audience in this area. And then you develop a data analysis plan based on the current work, which means that you have some data, but you need to find like a suitable methodology or framework from previous work, mostly to develop your data analysis plan. And maybe you could adapt existing framework or methodology to your study, your data. And also, if possible, you could consider potential improvement to this methodology or framework. That really depends on like if you want to make some, if you want to be creative, in this methodology, that would be like a highlight for some papers. But sometimes you are most doing a survey or something. You want to show the kind of current situations. So it may not be very necessary for you to consider improvement to the methodology, but it would be still be interesting if you could improve a current methodology or framework. And third is about data analysis. And as I have said, literature review will help you find out what is the most valuable result from your data. And so keep the data analysis plan flexible as long as it is scientific. So you may develop a data analysis plan at the beginning, but when you run your data, you find that you didn't get a very interesting results out of it. So you may think about like improve your data analysis plan and to do more literature review or to consult your supervisor and to find out how I could improve the data analysis plan to see if I could find some interesting results out of your data. So just like keep it flexible and always to see to get some help from your supervisor and the previous literature. And fourth is like my habit is to write in the method and result sections first after you complete your data analysis and get some satisfying results. So because these two sections are many documents what you have done. So this is like I think it will be easier to develop than the introduction and the discussion session. So the methods section that you will make your method section clear to the extent that other researchers could replicate your research in other settings. For example, if you are doing like a systematic review, the other researchers could do like the same review following the steps you have discussed, like for you have presented. Like if for intervention study or like evaluation study, you also need to present the whole method that the other people could like do the same things in for other intervention studies. Like the second is like the develop the result section based on the key results and the supporting evidence and forming in mind the logic of your story. Like you have to understand what is your key result and what are the supporting evidence and how to present it in a logical way. I think that is very important. And this is also related to your study proposal. Like if you have a study proposal, like you understand at the beginning the aim of your study and what questions you are going to explore. So that the results answered your question. So you just keep that in mind. You need to keep in mind the logic of the story you are going to tell. And the next, after you have developed the method and the result sections, usually I would like send to my supervisors, and they would help you evaluate if these results are of good publishable quality, and they would also suggest that how to improve the data, how to improve the data analysis and the result sections, and you revise it. And after you get like satisfying result sections, and you begin to think about the background and the introduction and the discussion sections. So usually the background information and the literature review should lead to the need in your area that your paper addresses. So your paper addresses a problem that have not been addressed before. So you do extensive literature review and see what people have already done and what hasn't been done and why this is important in your area. So basically, that is how I developed the introduction session. The first is some background information. For example, if you are writing a paper on tuberculosis, you introduce the disease burden in your study site, and also what has been done regarding the TB. For example, if you are doing like TB financial burden, then what has been done and what hasn't been answered, and how your paper are going to address this question. So usually you briefly mentioned how, and because the details will be in the method sections, you could briefly mention what method you use in the introduction section. And for the discussion section, usually you summarize the key findings first and explain the key findings at the beginning. So sometimes in my writing experience, and it would be easy to get confused what should be put in the result sections and what should be put in the discussion sections. And sometimes reviewers would also make such suggestions. They would say, oh, you put too many things in the result and too things in the discussion, or vice versa. Some of the contents should be in the results but not in discussion. So basically, the principle is that you keep the results and the findings in the result section, but only you need to summarize the key findings, the key messages you want to convey to the audience in the discussion sections first. Then you explain these key findings. For example, if in your study you find out the financial burden of these TB patients even increased after certain kinds of interventions, that's bad news. But you have to explain that because that is your findings. You try to find from the literature or from your qualitative research why these people have even higher financial burden after the interventions. But if you have some qualitative results, you may present in the result sections, but you need to really explain these kind of findings in the discussion sections to summarize and to extract from the results and to form your discussion. And also, you could discuss the implications for practice. That after finding out these interventions do not work, which is so bad, but how could we improve that? You could discuss implications for practice. Then you could search for the literature to find out some successful interventions and how they do, and why this, and further discuss why your interventions fail to improve the financial burdens. And then you could talk about the limitations of your study. Usually, all studies have their limitations. So, but sometimes it would be important to emphasize that the limitations would not seriously compromise the conclusions of your studies. You need to make it to make it clear to the audience and to the editors that even if we have such kind of such kind of limitations, our study is still valid. Our study is still important and still scientific. And in the end, usually you suggest some directions for future research. So based on your research and the current research. So discussions really have some multiple contents. So the subheadings are important to make your discussion more clearly presented to the audience. So the first you see, if you are discussing different areas, so the subheadings would be very important to let the audience understand at the beginning what you're going to talk about. And in the end, write the conclusion abstract, because the conclusion really emphasizes the significance of your key findings to your field of research. Usually, after you write your discussion sections, this would be very clear to you. So you are also improve your understanding of your own research through the processes of developing a paper. So after writing your discussion, you kind of getting more clear in your mind why your study is important, what is the most important meanings, results of your study to your field of research. And then you do and then you do abstract. So sometimes abstract could be developed at the beginning because you are going to submit your abstract to a certain journal or like conference. So you may have an abstract first. But I think after you these paper writing processes, you may have some deeper understandings of your research. So you could revise it based on your always revise it based on your completed paper before you submit to the journal. So that's all done, and you will send your work to your supervisors and revise it, and then you could think about like searching for a target journal and getting into the peer review processes. I think Professor Long have just talked about a great a deal of knowledge of how to searching for a target journal. So first, we need to understand what high impact journals are looking for, like those big names like Lancet and BMJ and or Circulation and all these big names. First, they are like looking for like a breakthrough. It's like a new, for example, new and effective therapy for serious disease, or a new and or a new finding that could possibly lead to a therapy, an effective therapy for serious disease. That's all what people in the area of medicine are looking for. The second is that it's highly influential. You maybe develop like a strictly designed large RCT on drugs or policy interventions. So and third is like extensive representativeness and comprehensiveness. Like you conduct a study in multiple countries and regions, or you collected high quality data for many years, or you conduct a systematic review on a very critical topic. All these kind of all these are examples of high impact research that are for those high impact journals. So as a researcher, we all hope to participate in, or even in the future, will to be able to conduct such kind of, to lead such kind of high impact studies. That is a dream of, I think, a dream of all researchers. But if your study is not so impactful as a junior researcher, so a good way is to find your potential target journals from your reference list, as Professor Long have just said. This is actually what I've done for some my papers. For example, I have published a paper named Inequity Healthcare's Needs, Health Service Use, and Financial Burden Medical Expenditures in China, results for a consecutive household monitoring study in Jiangsu province. So this is a pilot study with only 400 households in eastern China. It's not very representative. And it's composed of a baseline survey and 10 follow-up surveys in over 7 consecutive months. So that is like methodological genes, because you have done lots of surveys to document the service use and medical expenditure of these patients. And then how I analyze this data is that I used the affordability letter program framework. It's a holistic approach to examine equity in healthcare system from demand-side perspective through step-by-step analysis. So it's basically a very mature framework arc that's analyzes the equity issues from perceived healthcare needs, and then you see the informal care and formal care use and payment for healthcare. So it's not many creativity in the methodology also, but I think it's a comprehensive analysis. That is the strength. So the strength of the paper is that it is a comprehensive analysis and it uses data from multiple surveys, and the data is relatively reliable because it's like 10 follow-up surveys in 7 months. So people are unlikely to forget about what they have done or how much they have been paid. And the weakness is also very the weakness is that it's not highly representative and also do not have much creativity in the methodology and the way, and it's also like a pilot study. So we feel that it's not likely to get published in those big names, but it's still it's of some importance to the area. So let's consider some popular journals in the area of health system and service research. These 5 journals is what I found from my reference list. that most of my references come from those 4 journals. First is International Journal of Planning, Health Planning and Management, got an impact of 3.8. And Social Science and Medicine, as Professor Long have just mentioned, it's a good journal of good quality and also highly recognized by the researchers in this area. Also, International Journal for Equity in Health, because I'm studying equity issues, that would be like looks like an ideal target. The BMC Health Services Research, it's also like under BMC, and lots of studies on health services research go to this journal. And the International Journal of Health Services is relatively new, and the impact factor is not very high. So usually, starting from the suitable journal with the highest impact factor, because you always want to get like published in a better journal. So that's really how you try. But it's all the suitable journal. Do not aim for that not really suitable. You have to evaluate your study first and get a list of suitable journals. You're always asking for advice from experienced researchers, your supervisors, and try higher impact journals if you are not in a hurry to publish, because time to publish is also important. So I tried for International Journal of Equity Health first, but get rejected. And then I get rejected by the editors, even did not get it into the peer review process. And that's really sad, but you'll try again and get into the peer review process in BMC Health Services Research. And then let's revise the paper again and again. So you first is the revision before submission. You need to notice the word limit for the. So this step is actually tailor your paper to the journal requirements. You notice about the word limit for the main text and the abstract. Usually, these journals ask for as many as 5 result tables, and then the rest of the tables should be considered to move to the supplemental materials. And also other format requirements you need to follow, that is such as the reference and the figure styles, and collect information on funding, IRB, and other also information. All these information are required when you are submitting the journal article. And many journals will ask you to prepare a summary of key findings and the major contributions and the major new findings, your new contributions to your field of research, like sometimes in the form of bullets, like you have a box of your key findings and major contributions to your field of research. So you also need to prepare these kind of materials based on the requirements of the journal. So the next step, you will get some peer reviews and reviewer comments and revise the papers. I think most often you get major revisions as the first decision, and very luckily you get minor revision. And I think Professor Tang has just said almost it's not possible to get a decision like, oh, your paper is perfect for publish, and you do not need to revise it. Usually, it's not possible to get that kind of decision. So mostly major revision and luckily minor revision. And first, you acknowledge when you are. I think Professor Tang have already introduced a lot of important rules when respond to reviewers. I think the most important thing to keep in mind that is always acknowledge that the reviewer has raised a good point. Even if you may not fully agree what he has actually said, but this point he is important. For example, he said you should pay attention to blah blah blah. This is important. This is a very important issue in research. Even if you think that you have already paid enough attention to blah blah blah, but you still have to acknowledge at the beginning that the reviewer has raised a very good point. And then sometimes the reviewer would ask questions and you just answer that. Like they would also give suggestions on how you could revise it. Like first, if you do not follow all the comments and explain why you keep your original idea in a very politeful way, and if you follow the comments and you just explain how you write your paper based on these comments. So usually, ideally, you have one round of revision and you submit your response to reviewers and revisions, and it got accepted by the editors. Sometimes 2 or 3 rounds if the reviewers have further comments. And I'll give you some examples as the comments I received from the reviewers, and it's like the one reviewer raised some concerns about the literature review. I think it's rather lengthy, and it's about blah blah. More information is needed, and he raised some all kinds of his understandings and suggestions.
Efek samping kedinginan.
Yeah, so then I just reply, oh, thanks a lot for your comment. There have been did blah 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 research and our major original knowledge is blah blah blah. So I revise your literature review and make it more clear, concise, and emphasize blah blah where. Sometimes I should like include where the paragraph and the line how you where you make such kind of revisions. So this is basically you have accepted these kind of comments and make the revisions accordingly. And sometimes you would receive some comments that are very difficult for you to revise. For example, this kind of research, and he said you need a control, but this study said you do not have a control at the beginning. You cannot. They always mention that before and after intervention, a comparison is like a weak indicator. Yes, because if you have a control, that would be perfect. That would be be very strong for your conclusions. But if your research do not have a control at the beginning, you cannot have a control in your paper. So basically, you have then if this kind of comments, you cannot revise your paper based on the comments. You have to use more words to explain why you do not have a control and how you analyze your data to solve this kind of problems, and you also mentioned that even without control, your conclusions is also valid. So this basically first explain why no, and then explain how you design your study to get a valid conclusion. And then you said, oh, my conclusion is still valid even without control. So that is basically what you need to explain to the reviewers. Oh, usually you go through this review process and you get accepted. So you're almost successful. That's there. And when you get accepted, the editor will send you the paper, ask you to do the final proofreading and submit again. And make sure secure the funding to pay for the publication fee, because like for most of the time you are publishing in open access journals, they ask for publication fee, and you need to secure the funding before you get published. Finally you get published. So that's you can always get published actually if your paper is of publishable quality. So, but publishing a paper in the high impact journals needs good luck. So just thank you for listening, and I hope you good luck in publishing your work. That's all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wexi Jiang. It's very thorough. It's very opening about our mindset, how we get publications correctly. So I would like to re-invite Professor Tian Long, because in the last 2 slides, I think he got interrupted. We cannot hear her. So after that, we will open the discussion for both presentations. Please, Dr. Tian Long, can you?
你应该是能听到的。Sorry, I tried to.
Okay.
Okay, stop. Yeah.
Can Professor Tian Long join again?
Yeah. I try to see. I think Professor Tian Long should be heard.
Please.
Hello.
Hello.
Adik, can you hear us?
Yeah. Good. You left your 2 or 3 slides in the end because we cannot hear you. You can
Hello?
use your time.
你说话。
No. Yeah. No. Yeah. Could Professor Long be heard?
I can hear you, Dr. Bexy, but
Professor Long, you could speak.
say something.
Hello, Professor Dick. Can you hear me? No, I cannot hear you.
Yeah, clear. I can hear you.
I can hear the way she's talking, but I can see you are talking, but I cannot hear you.
We can hear you, so you can start talking.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay, good. Echoes.
Wei Shi, can you? Yeah, there you go. You can mute there. Chen, can you try again?
Oh yeah, so I just joined Professor Wong, I think. It would be great better for me to just join. Okay, Wei Shi is here with me. So now everybody can hear us? Okay, good. Sorry. So I'm not quite sure which part you didn't hear from my presentation, but I think I have already come to the end. Then we have some tips. Then see you can go through the reference list. Then you cited in your paper. So that also can give you some indications what type of journal may be interested about this type of work. So that also can be think about to choose the target journals. Then secondly, then I think we should also mention about that. Think about the publication charge, then you can affordable and also the resources available. Then think about the timing. Would you like to publish your work as soon as possible? Then mostly yes, especially like the COVID-19 articles, then they say they would like to make it available, publishable as soon as possible. But also like that, think about some journals will see this peer review may take 3 months, 4 months, even takes 6 months. Can you afford this kind of the time frame? So all this is kind of the factors to be considered when you choose a proper journal. So I think that's to my end of my presentation. And also I'm happy to take any questions. And also now Dr. Anderson also join us, and maybe also Wei Shi is here, then we can jointly answer some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Long. Thank you for all the good presentations. Now, audience, we have Professor Benjamin Anderson with us. We have Professor Kian Long with us. We have Dr. Jiang, Bexy Jiang with us. Please raise your question. You can go directly to this Zoom because I haven't seen any written questions in the chat. Please do. Okay, I see from Dr. Lamiati, I would like to ask how to find out the journal that we would like to submit, which is not a predator journal. Please answer, 3 of you. Thank you.
May I just clarify, what do you mean about the predator journal?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's my question. I would like to ask because some journal, they ask a lot of money, but we are not sure that this qualified journal or not. But maybe that they consider it as a predator journal. Do you know about that?
Well, like I said, nowadays some like the open access journal, mostly maybe they will ask for the publication fee, but still some traditional journal, they will give you some options. Let's see, if you would not like to make your work open access, so there is no any charge. So that's also, it's still some traditional way, but they also give you option. If you would like to make your work for open access, then you will pay. So that also means it's free for the audience. So for the others, they don't pay that easily to access to the work. Then the way also make your work more widely available and also disseminated.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I can add to that. So there is a list of predatory journals. So this is a phrase that's been coined. These are operations that have been set up as a way to generate money, and they may not be. They're not really considered legitimate in the eyes of the scientific research community, but they set themselves up to be structured in a way that seems like they're legitimate. So if I can just quickly share a slide with you real quick. This is a phenomenon that's been developing more and more over the last 10 years. And it's a proliferation mainly of online-based journals. And usually the emails that you'll receive, they'll promise very fast publication. They may say they're peer-reviewed, but one of the things that you'll note about the peer review is that the people they're asking to peer review are not necessarily experts in the field, or they may only do one reviewer, which isn't really an adequate peer review. So, and the other thing is kind of a red flag is if they charge a pretty high publication fee. Now, as Dr. Longen noted, for journals, if you want your paper open access, some journals will charge a fee, and that's just kind of a standard publication fee for open access or other publication-based related costs. But if you see journals that are not really highly reputable and they're charging $2,000 or $3,000 US, that's a red flag that's not really a good journal. And here's a link here. You can go to this link, predatoryjournals.com /journals. And there's a list that is on here. And you can go through, and if you're looking at a journal and you're like, I've not heard of this journal, or I got an email from them saying, hey, we want you to submit a paper for our journal. And sometimes what they'll say is, we're going to reduce the fee. Instead of $2,000, you only pay $400. We're going to give you a big price break. But they're just really trying to generate money. I get these every day. I probably get 3 or 4 emails a day from journals that may not be so legitimate, and they'll usually start out with these kind of phrases like "dear colleague" or "dear great researcher, your research work is so fantastic and we want to ask you to submit to our journal." So you can kind of pay attention to that and follow the instructions that Dr. Long had shared with you, and I think you'll be okay as long as you see that references that you're citing in your paper are part of those journals. Those are going to be considered legitimate journals, but it is something that is going to probably continue to be an issue over the next coming years.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There is another question in the chat. Let me see from Dr. C.D. Laksono. Do you know how long the duration we should wait for our article being reviewed by reviewer? Should we wait 1 year to withdraw the article, or how? Please. CD, you want to mention that by yourself, please?
Yes, Prof. Thank you for the questions. I just want to ask, if we send the articles to the journals, should we wait for how many longs for the article is being reviewed? Thank you, Prof.
Okay, please, presenters, your answers.
Yeah, thanks so much for the question. According to our experience, usually I also write a paper with my students. Then when she submits the paper, then I also will ask her to check the status in the submission system. Then that's also, the purpose also is to follow up this kind of the peer review process. So you may find some general information from the web of the journal. Then some journal will see this peer review process will take 2 to 3 months or 3 to 4 months. So that is kind of the reasonable time. Then why we also need to follow up the status, then if you see you submit to the editorial office, then it's already 1 month, then nothing changed, then you also can write to the editorial office or maybe editor and see very politely what's like what kind of assessment and what could be the next step. Then in my case, I mean, my previous experience, I submit the one to the BMC Health Services Research. Then I follow up every every month. Then till the 3rd month, then the editor still reply to me, say, sorry, it's very hard to find the reviewer. So it takes a longer time, So then till the 4th to 5th month, then I decide to withdraw. So then you can make your own decision. Then if you think it takes too long, then you can write to editor, say, I would like to withdraw my paper, then sorry for that, blah, blah, blah. So that also could be the strategy you think about. So that also means really need to follow up the status after your submission. So any experience to share from Dr. John and also Dr. Anderson?
Ben, you have the answer?
I have some experience because
Okay.
recently I'm going through such a processes because it's New Year and it's very difficult to find the reviewer. Yeah. So the timing of submission is also important because I submit in the December and it's close to the New Year, and it's even more difficult to find reviewers during this time of stage. So I would suggest if possible, if you submit earlier, do not get crushed in the New Year. And this next thing is that you do need to follow up, because for me, I really follow up for this. If you could not find reviewers, I would follow up like every 2 weeks sometimes. And you should also notice that during submission in some journal system, they would ask you to propose potential reviewers. So because the reviewers are anonymous, but so you could propose some reviewers who is not of conflict. There's no conflict of interests, but his work that are really basically in the same area for you. So you could propose some reviewers. Usually the journal editors would accept your recommendations as long as you emphasize that these reviewers are not of conflict of interest. So, and these reviewers are basically, they have published several papers. They have these kind of qualified to be reviewers. You could suggest reviewers in the when you are during the follow-up processes, or even when you are submitting your journals. So that's basically depends. Sometimes you do not suggest any reviewers and successfully find reviewers. But if like after 1 month you still have got no reviewers, you could suggest reviewers. Yes, that's basically what my experience.
Professor Ben, you have something to say?
No additions. That was excellent advice from my colleagues.
In continuation to Dr. CD's question, I have another question. My question is like this: is this ethical? For example, we have a good article, and then at the same time, we submit to several journals. Why so? Because we are not sure when the journal will accept us. So we said in our written introduction that we also send this article to several journals. Is that ethical, or we have to go one by one and then wait until the first journal rejected or accept, and then we can go to another journal? Can we ethically do at the same time submit writing to several journals as well. And we did mention in the introduction letter. Over to you.
My answer is no. Then usually when we write the cover letter, then we will see this article, this manuscript is not under consideration by other journals. So I think this also is kind of the rule from the different by the journals. Then if you want to make this process quick, then many journals now also often like the pre-submission process. So then they will have this kind of the quick review process will give you the like the feedback within maybe 2 to 3 working days. Then they will say, oh, this is really suitable for, or maybe it's, we are interested. Then we'll invite you to submit the full manuscript. Usually we will, like I said, submit one by one. If rejected by this journal, then we will go to another one. So I also will invite Dr. Anderson to comment on this.
Yeah, I concur with that, and I just want to make a distinction here regarding the question is that the not submitting to multiple journals at the same time is not necessarily an ethics. The reason for that is not really ethics; it's rules of the journal. So they just have copyright rules, and journals want to have sole copyright of your work because they're the ones that are going to be publishing it. So that's more of an artifact of the copyright policy instead of an artifact of ethics. More of the ethics would be like if you're, the plagiarism of other work, or, you can, if the journals allowed it, if it wasn't a rule, you could technically publish the same data other places, but in general, that's not the accepted norm for scientific research. Usually you just pick one journal and you publish it in that journal. But that's more so, again, this is a copyright issue instead of an ethics issue.
Okay, Bexy, do you have anything to say more?
No additional comments. I think
Thank you.
Great answers.
Yes, please. I would like to invite 1 or 2 more questions from the audience. Please do. Just say it directly. Dr. Rita Damayanti, do you have anything to say? Dr. Rita is actually the coordinator of the doctoral program in our school. Dr. Rita, I'm inviting you. Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. I have no questions because it's already clear. And I think it's very valuable for our students because they have a requirement to publish before they can graduate.
Yeah.
So this is very important, the sessions. And I think they also see your presentation in YouTube also. Thank you for these collaborations, and thank you also to Prof. Adik Wibawa to make this happen.
Thank you, Dr. Rita Damayanti. I am also see here, remember Professor Anderson, Dr. Doni Hikmat, who is the head of the Research and Development Unit at our school. Dr. Doni, do you want to say something here now, please? I'm inviting you. Are you here, Dr. Doni?
Yes, I'm here, Doctor.
Yes, please. Yes. I'm so glad.
And I would like to thanks to Prof. Benjamin and Prof. Kian Long and also Dr. CC for your presentation. Thank you so much. This workshop help our students to prepare the manuscript for publication. That's all. Thank you also for Professor Adik for your support to us.
Thank you, Dr. Doni. I think we come now to the end session, and for that I would like to have the acting dean, the vice dean for academic affairs, if she is here, Dr. Asi, to give her final words. But before that, I would like to ask the Duke team whether you can also share with us the PowerPoints so we can give that to our students and all the audience. I would like to thank for that. And then I think this is not the beginning, this is not the end, but I do hope, like my saying before, that we can go further with this publication pathway program. Professor Ben Anderson, Professor Kian Long, and Dr. Jiang. So we perhaps can think about further collaboration on this aspect. Now I would like to invite Dr. Asi. Are you here? Yes,
Yes,
please,
Prof.
Asi. Please.
Yes. Thank you, Prof. Adik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good
Waalaikumsalam.
morning, everyone. The honorable speakers, Prof. Benjamin Anderson, Professor Kian Long, and also Dr. Wexi Jiang from Jurnal University. I think Prof. Seng Lang not here today. And also the honorable Prof. Adik Wibowo, as a Global Health Initiative Indonesia, Faculty of Public Health Universitas Indonesia, our colleagues from Faculty of Public Health Universitas Indonesia, also our students and all participants. First, we thank to God for His mercy that we can come together in these 2 days for a publication workshop. On behalf of Public Health Universitas Indonesia, we would like to thank for your collaboration of Jurnal University and also Public Health Faculty of Public Health Universitas Indonesia in holding a scientific publication workshop. In these 2 days, I think we learned a lot of about how to write for a journal. For Professor Benjamin Anderson, thank you very much for your tips how to get started with writing in journal. And I always remember and starting with methods rather than introduction. And also for Professor Seng Lang, thank you very much for your sharing how to respond to the editors and reviewers' comments. Even you provide example sentence word by word how to answer the comment from editors and reviewer. And also thank you for Professor Kian Long. Thank you very much for your sharing how to choose a target journal for the study topic. And also with thanks to Dr. Wexi Jiang. Thank you very much for your experience sharing on the development and publication of peer review papers. Once again, we thank very much for this valuable workshop. I think it's very useful for us. We also thanks to Prof. Adik, who has organized this activity. Also thanks for IT team for your support to provide connection. Last but not least, always remember what Prof. Benjamin said. Try, and try. Not only times, but 5 times, maybe more. I think that's all. Thank you very much. See you next, I don't know, next month, next.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asi, and
Thank you
we are
very
so
much.
sorry
Yes.
about the demise of your father recently, and I do hope that he rests in peace. So in our agenda, we have Professor Kian Long to also give a few words before we adjourn. Please, Kian.
Well, from my side, I just really appreciate Dr. Anderson, Professor Tan, also Dr. Wei Xi join us and contribute to the session. We discussed several times with Professor Adik, and Professor Adik strongly suggests we need to make this workshop happen, and also this is quite important for the students, for the young researchers, and also for our collaboration. So we are pleasured to work together and really share the research experience. So so much, Professor Adik, and also appreciate my colleagues' contribution, and also appreciate all the audience joining the session yesterday and today. So wish the next week is the Chinese New Year. So I wish you all have a successful year and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kian Long. Lastly, Professor Ben, you have something to say? Because you are also contributed a lot.
Well, just thanks to everyone and Prof. Week and Vice Dean Asi. It's good to see you, and Dr. Donnie, all those who we've been working with, and I know that we've done a number of these. I hope we continue to do these. I think they're valuable, and it's really nice to have an opportunity again to come together, even in a virtual environment, and just to get a chance to see you. And I wore my batik today in honor of our session. I wish I could be wearing this in Indonesia, but one day soon, I hope that we'll be able to see you in person again. But until then, keep writing, keep researching, keep trying, and please have fun. Try to have fun, enjoy it. It's really an amazing thing to be able to ask these questions and to collect data and to have an impact in the world. So I wish all of you well in your writing and your publications, and of course, reach out to us if you have any questions. We're happy to follow up with you and deal with those one-on-one.
Thank you. Our best wishes and respectful Happy New Year also to Professor Xiang Lang Tang, who is now asleep perhaps because we are 12 hours difference. And with this, I think I would like to thank everybody who participate in this today workshop. Thank you so much, your time, for your valuable timing. And we wish that we will follow this workshop with another workshop, which is much more down to earth. Thank you, everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And see you.
Waalaikumsalam.
Happy New Year. Okay.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
For us.
Aldi.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.